Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, I am absolutely delighted to be joined by a man who needs no introduction at this point, Michael Sugarbomb Claycomb. Michael, how are you, young man?
Doing good, same old, same old. I had a good amount of time off to kind of just relax a little bit, take a step back, review a lot of things, and feeling good, feeling good.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped for you, man. You've had a real busy last few years. One thing I wanted to talk to you about. I remember when your dad first came to me, and it hasn't been that long. It's just been a couple years. He was having a hard time getting fights for you.
Mm. Yeah,
A lot of fights. You guys would book them, they'd fall out, and you were just itching to fight. And it was MMA, and you guys weren't sure where you wanted to go. And then your dad saw kickboxing at FightersRep and was like, "Oh, this is what we like. We like this. We're karate guys. We're strikers. We like this." And then in the past couple of years, it's just been fight after fight after fight after fight. So when you tell me, it's crazy how things kind of turn on their head, right? Tell me about that. I mean, how
right.
you feel about from going from not being able to get a fight to fighting like I feel like 10 times or something like that in the
Yeah,
last couple of years.
yeah. It's been eight to be exact. Eight
Okay,
fights.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's yeah, in the beginning, I think for my first fight, I had four opponents drop out in a span of like 6 months, just back to
Crazy.
back to back. And then the one fight I did have, pandemic came, and it just like put another like a year delay basically. And
Yeah.
now it's like everyone wants me to fight for them, and it's
Yeah.
like the complete opposite. I'm
Yeah.
constantly busy and dealing with all that stuff. So yeah, it's very, very different from the beginning.
It's almost like be careful what you wish for, right? You were sitting there itching to fight, nothing was coming through, and then you just got avalanched with fights.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
basically, that's exactly how it
Hurricane,
is.
by the way, Hurricane Santana's in here. He says, "Is that the Shotokan karate guy?" Yes, it is. This is
It
Michael
is.
Sugarbomb Claycomb, and that's Hurricane Santana. That's our South Florida matchmaker. So yes, Xavier, this is Michael Sugarbomb Claycomb. So
What's
Michael,
up?
it's a much needed rest for you. This little rest you had, but it wasn't that long. It didn't feel that long, at least. How long was this little break that you took?
Well, I mean, last Fighters Rep was November, and I'm fighting on
Right.
the next one in March, so it wasn't that too long.
Do you
I would
feel
say,
like,
oh, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I had a good like month and a half, 2 months now since my last title loss.
Yeah,
November 17th is what, January 9th? Yeah, 2 months.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys can tell I'm a little healthy right now on my face, and I got a little gut going on, and I've been
Uh,
enjoying life a
if
little
that's
bit.
a good, if that's a gut, we need to change places one day, man. Jeez.
Nah, you're good. You don't look too bad.
But my head's as big as your entire upper body at this point. But uh, but yeah. So for you, that month and a half was a rest for you, I
Yeah.
guess, because you were basically going from training camp to training camp. Is that what was happening these past couple years?
Yeah, so I got my eye surgery done in June. I fought Karate Combat and then Royal Combat and then Fighters Rep. It was three fights like every I want to say like every 2 months. There was no like break in between the camps, and it was
Yeah,
just nonstop going, 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 going.
yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah.
having Fighters Up in March was really nice because November 17th was right before Thanksgiving, which was perfect. So even though, I did lose and whatnot, I still got to enjoy Thanksgiving, got to enjoy Christmas,
Perfect,
holiday,
perfect.
New Year's, and it was really nice. It was a really much needed break. I didn't have to think about fighting, didn't have to worry about training camp. I did some maintenance training, just
Hmm.
to not get too out of shape, but
Right, right, right.
having that pressure off of me of like, okay, what is this guy gonna do? Like, when you have an opponent, like you think of, oh, I need to look for weaknesses, I need to strategize, I need to do this. Okay, what do I need to work on for the next camp? Like, I didn't do any of that for
Right.
this past 2 months, and it was It was nice. It was
You
nice.
feel like that mental pressure is more for you than the physical pressure of being in training camp?
Oh yeah, the physical pressure. I mean, to anyone that's watched my fights, I mean, besides the ones like my losses where I got knocked out in the first round, like you see, I have a gas tank, so I'm always physically ready, and I don't really find that too much
Yeah.
like pressure getting in shape. It's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
the mental aspect, you know what I mean? Because there's so much that goes into the mental side, and I don't think a lot of people really understand that. Even the emotional side, like having that fear and constant like, oh my God, like I'm stepping into a ring, like it really eats you alive throughout the training camp, more than like am I physically ready? I mean,
Yeah.
they tie in some ways, but it's more mental and emotional, you know?
Your mental battles have been interesting for me. You hear about them with a lot of the fighters. I think they all have them, right? But not everybody
Oh yeah.
articulates them kind of the way you have. I mean, I remember at one point you told me, and it was prior. I think it was prior to the fight with Tadeo when you scored that ridiculous spinning back kick knockout that I don't think anybody's ever going to forget in the history of
If they
fighters
better
ever
not.
commentary.
They
But
better not.
yeah, that was crazy. But I think you said you had the way to finally calm yourself down was to basically accept death. I think you
Yeah.
looked at the mirror and you accepted death. I think that's what you told me.
Yeah. That's exactly what I told you. Yeah.
Wow,
It's
man.
yeah, it's not an easy task to do. I honestly don't even really know how I did it back then. But it's not easy. Like it's easier said than done, and it's yeah, it's I've had a bunch of battles, a bunch of inner demons that I've had to basically beat essentially and try to overcome. And as everyone's kind of seen, some of them have beaten me when I step in the ring, and it's constantly like one thing after the other. But when I look back at the journey, it's all worth it, you know? Like I don't regret anything, nor do I feel bad because I didn't overcome one thing or maybe I did another thing. Like it's all part of the learning journey, you know?
Yeah.
And looking back on every experience that I've had, I'm really grateful. And a lot of that I owe that to you actually, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't had those opportunities to deal with them or experience them. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that very much, man. That's definitely a motivating factor when people tell me something like that. So, the mental aspect, definitely a difficult part of fighting, hard to articulate. I appreciate the way you articulate it, and I kind of
Thank you.
wanted to segue from that into, what you're kind of dealing with subsequent to a loss, right? Because,
Mhm.
you know, I tell fighters all the time, especially the amateurs. I mean, you're gonna lose in the amateurs, right? You have
Right,
to. If you didn't lose, then you didn't really. I don't think you really challenged yourself at any point, unless you're
right,
some kind of unless you just got real lucky. I think
right,
you'll
right.
go
Yeah.
undefeated. But a loss, can still sting, obviously, because you guys go through these training camps, you go through all this stuff mentally, and it was for a title. It was for a
Mhm.
title. Now, I think the redeeming thing for you is, I mean, you've already won a title. You've won it
Yeah.
in Muay Thai,
I won
and
in
now
Muay
you're trying
Thai.
to win one in kickboxing.
Oh, I'm gonna get
Um, but
it.
it sounds like you've kind of shifted focus. I mean, I could be wrong. You tell me you've shifted focus. You now want this second sport title. You want to get this title in kickboxing that
Oh,
you've attempted a couple times.
yeah. Oh man, I want this title so badly. Man, I can't put it into words how badly I want
Yeah,
this title.
yeah,
And it's not even just kickboxing. I want like fighters reps title. Like I want to be and I mean I'm sorry like like Milshawn's a great guy and all credit to him, but like I do want a rematch one day and I fully respect him and I don't hate him, but like I
yeah,
do
yeah,
want to be a champion and I know if he were to have lost the match, I know he'd feel the same way, which is why I'm hoping he doesn't hate me for that. Because
no,
I'm
no. I,
not I'm
I
not
think
doing this to be a like a whatever. Like I want to be the champion, you know?
yeah, yeah. It
So
seems to me like there was some good mutual respect between the two of you, if I'm honest.
oh yeah. Yeah.
But
On the day
obviously,
of
obviously,
weigh-ins, oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry, go on.
Well, I was saying obviously you want to win, but it looked like there was definitely some respect there.
Yeah, well, the day of weigh-ins, I was chatting with him a little bit. Him and Ian Holloway, shout out to both of them. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize my thumb was in the camera. Yeah, I was chatting with both of them before weigh-ins. Even the day of the fight, we ran into each other as we're going to the corners, and we started getting luck. There was never bad blood between me and him. At least
Mhm.
for my part, I don't think he ever had bad blood on his part either. It was really nice. It was just two guys going out there just giving it their best, and I wish more people were like Noshan and I in that regard. I don't like the idea of having this bad blood, and, like this darkness. Like I hate you.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
don't. You don't have to do that.
yeah, yeah. Well, you got up for it. The fight was what it was. Kind of tell me, what you felt on the night, and now that you've had some time to reflect on it, where do you feel like you went wrong? And obviously, you're coming back in March 2nd, so I would imagine you've taken away some lessons from this fight. So I'd like to hear, if any, what they are.
The different lessons that I've taken away. Well, I think I got a firmer grasp on a little bit more of why I want to do this, fighting in particular, specifically kickboxing fighters rep. Um, I didn't really truly understand, and that purpose was a little bit more blurry when I was in training camp. Like I had a general idea, but I still wasn't really like 100% on it. I didn't really have that motivation or desire as I do now,
Hmm.
because I was kind of just doing it just because I was already in it type thing.
Yeah.
Um, as well as learning more about my deeper emotions with my own fears, kind of understanding that and realizing really what it is that I'm actually afraid of because I didn't understand that before either.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of fighting itself, like the physical side of things, uh, there's not, I mean, there's little things, of course. There's some new things that I'm hoping to display when it comes to March 2nd that I want to show you guys. Everyone's always, or at least I've always been the person on the back foot type of fighter, and yeah, I don't plan on keeping it that way. So hopefully March 2nd, I can show everyone kind of the opposite side of the coin type of fighter that I want to be. I
I
don't like
see.
being a defensive type of fighter. Even though I've displayed that, that's because of my own mental aspects, not because of my like capabilities necessarily. So there's some things that I'm fine tuning in terms of like techniques wise, working on a little bit more defense, different ways to go about handling situations, like when I'm on the ropes, things like that. Um, there was a good amount of lessons that I learned, but I think the biggest one was just understanding my emotions more.
Yeah.
Because there was a moment like after the fight where I was like, do I really want to keep doing this? Like, do I really want this? Like, is this really like that worth it? Like, I got stitches already. I get black eyes every time. And my legs are banged up. Like, it's not. No one likes it. Like, no one likes getting that, And I had to
Yeah.
really think to myself, like, is this what Michael wants? Like, is there something else out there? And I took about 2 weeks, just that one question, just 2 weeks straight, just thinking, and finally came to that conclusion that this is what I want, and I
Yeah.
don't think anything else out there for me, and I don't even want anything else out there for me. Like this is what I want the most. One thing that I realize is, going through your everyday type of routines and whatnot, and you have work, or maybe you go to school, whatever. It's Nothing is more like you don't feel as alive compared to when you're in that ring. Like when you're in that ring, the crowd's going and you feel that energy, like, and then you feel that pain from getting hit. Like that's the most realest feeling like you're ever gonna experience. Yeah, it's a surreal feeling, and it's something that I really am starting to appreciate more and more as I kind of go through life. I'm 23. I'm still a kid, so I got a lot left to learn, and I'll always have more
Wow,
to
man,
learn.
I
But
forget how young you are sometimes. 23 is crazy.
how old do I look? How old do I look?
You look you look
Like 50?
22 and you look 22 and a half.
22 and a half? I'm starting to get the peach fuzz, and get a
Oh,
little
God.
whiskers on my chin. And
And Joshua Shabata is in here. He says Sugar Bomb in the house, guys. Obviously, if this is your
oh,
first time
Josh.
joining us, subscribe to the channel, join the channel to help us build. If you want to sponsor or look out for Mikey on his next fight, you can reach out to him and follow him on Instagram at michaelclaycomb.cka, or reach out to me to sponsor Fighters Rep, and I can facilitate that as well. Be sure
Thank
to
you.
subscribe to the channel again and follow him on Instagram. So you took away, it sounds like you took away a lot of things, and it made you even more stubborn. It sounds like you want to do this even more now, is what
Exactly.
it sounds like.
That's exactly it. And I'm
So that's a
biting at
good
the bit.
thing. Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a good thing for fight fans and for us especially, because obviously we love having you in there. I wanted to ask you too,
Thank you so
the
much.
night of the fight. I mean, did something go wrong as far as your strategy? Were you just, did you freeze up? Like, what do you think happened on the night of the fight?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of things that happened. Uh, where do I start? Well, to start things off, I was crying on the way to the arena. That that kind of really messed me up. I asked my dad about this. Like I was in the car just bawling my eyes out. Like not because my dad said anything, just for the nerves that I was feeling. So I
Yeah,
was just
yeah,
bawling like in the car for like 20 minutes, and it took me a while to calm down, and I got really paranoid and anxious, and that's something that I've always dealt with, and I'm still dealing with it. And it's never going to go away.
yeah,
But
yeah.
one thing I realized is that's actually a healthy thing for me to experience, and I'm actually glad that I do experience it, as opposed to feeling nothing, like it doesn't matter, because to me it just shows how much I do care about it. And then it helps me also like accept it more the more I like
Mhm.
go through that feeling. So that happened. My In the actual ring when that bell rang. So before like walking up into the ring, or even before that, even like when I was getting my gloves on, uh, you can even ask my team. I was pale. I was pale as a ghost, and I was shaky. I was constantly eating and trying to like rehydrate to get rid of that, and it helped a little bit. Um, and walking up, I was just jittery. Um, and when I got into the ring and that bell rang, everything kind of just like I froze essentially. Like I felt like a reindeer in headlights, and
Yeah,
just everything just kind of just felt heavy and sunk in, and all I was doing, or all I felt like I was doing, was just tensing up, and my nerves completely just like rattled me. And next thing I knew, I was on the floor twice, in a matter of 30
yeah,
seconds. Um, I realized that's not the first time that has happened. Uh, Even in my other title fight, my first round was very similar. Like I was freezing until eventually I was able to calm myself. And that's just kind of how I've always been with everything. Like I always take a minute to kind of adjust. And that's one thing that
mhm,
I'm working on the most. That fight or flight response type of, you know, uh, yeah, that fight or fight response. I'm
yeah,
always the type to flight or freeze, and I never really understood it, and I never really accepted it. I always tried to deny it, which is why I'm very grateful for this, because it was a big like knock on the door, like, "Hey, bro, like, no, this is
yeah,
how this is reality. Like, you need to, step up." And it's looking back, I'm kind of happy that it happened, because it helped me understand myself even more, and
yeah,
kind of just be
yeah.
more honest with myself.
Do you feel like, and obviously I don't want to exacerbate the situation, right? But
No, no, you're good.
do you feel like the fact that, you've basically dedicated your life to martial arts, and you guys have a dojo, and it's Claycomb karate. I mean, does the pressure of that, and I'm not saying the other fighters aren't dealing with that, but you do have a family business, you represent for Claycomb Karate Academy. It is your father's dojo, and you are his progeny. So I
Mhm.
mean, do you feel like the pressure of that weighs on you? Like is it maybe you feel like you got to go out there and represent, and you're putting a little bit too much pressure on yourself? or do you think, regardless of that situation, you would still feel very nervous, about, getting into the fight? I mean, I would imagine anybody would feel nervous, but I guess what I'm asking is, does representing Claycomb Karate, the family name, the family business, does that kind of exacerbate it?
For the
Because
longest
not
time,
not everybody's coming from a family gym and representing the family name, and got this
right,
traditional martial art on their back that a lot of people are minimizing its
right, right.
effectiveness in combat sports and so on and so forth. I know a lot of the traditional martial artists have a bit of a chip on their shoulders, so I mean, kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. For the longest time, not really. The actual problem was not the pressure of my dojo or my family name, but the pressure of feeling like I had to make my dad proud. Because for me, that's always been my biggest struggle. I've always felt insecure.
Yeah.
I've always had low confidence. I've always felt like I was never good enough in his eyes. And he's
You,
like, yeah,
you.
me.
What about the rest of us?
Oh, I mean, that does play a part
What
too.
about
Don't
what
get me
about
wrong.
me? If you're feeling that way, how am I supposed to
I don't know, don't get me wrong. No, I've always wanted to please everyone. I've always been a people pleaser. But if there was one person, it was always my dad. He was
Of course, of course.
like the one person I didn't want to see a flaw in me was him. And
Yeah,
growing up, I always felt like I was just full of flaws. And that's just my own lack of maturity, because I'm a kid, I don't understand anything.
yeah,
And even growing up, that's what it's always been. It's always been trying to just impress him and make him feel proud. Not necessarily the dojo, but actually, after the last fight, I have taken a lot more pride having CKA on my back, um, and something that I've felt more pride in is my last name. Like I never cared that I was a Claycomb. Like that pride stuff never really meant anything to me. It was just making my
yeah,
dad happy. And of course, I still want to make my dad happy, but I now understand that he's always gonna love me no matter what.
yeah,
But I do have more pride in like, yeah, like dojo's on my back. Like I got to represent. Like I got CKA on my shoulders, and
yeah,
if anything, that I actually kind of feel more honored uh, because I have it on my back. Like I am the one that people trust in, and they want me to represent them. Like I feel more honored, which has been a big motivator recently in my training because I just started training camp yesterday, but I started doing some training a couple weeks ago. Having that thought in the back of my head, like, yeah, you are the representative, like rep it.
yeah,
It's been a big pride for me that's kind of come about in the recent weeks, month.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So the way you guys condition your legs, you guys kick these bags, you guys kick these pads, and it conditions the leg, for kickboxing. And these shins turn into crowbars essentially. You know what I
yes,
mean?
sir.
Um, do you feel like mentally that same thing happens with every fight? Are you feeling like with every experience you're conditioning your mind and it's becoming, for lack of a better word, calloused and tougher and stronger? Or are you finding that it's still difficult, or it's not getting any better as far as the control of the mental aspect?
Um, yes. So in the beginning, I definitely felt like it was just difficult, like it was something that I couldn't overcome. And like I said, that spinning back kick knockout, that was my fourth fight in, and I honestly don't even understand kind of still like how I was able to get myself to that place mentally.
You were like in the shadow realm in that
Yeah,
fight, man. Yeah, I just saw you like teleport across the thing, move like this, spin around, and the fight was over. I didn't even understand what happened there.
Yeah, no, well, I understand how that happened in terms of like, I accepted a lot of things emotionally, but my headspace to get myself to that place, it was just, I didn't understand it at the time. And the David Rivera fight came around, I obviously didn't understand it
Hmm.
because the exact opposite happened. Um, After the David Rivera fight, I had Karate Combat and now Royal Combat and now this fight. I'd say I've learned so much more mentally and emotionally from these last three fights now that I'm more experienced and also more self-aware about myself
Yeah.
in these last three fights than in the first five. I'm finally understanding uh, where I need to be mentally and emotionally to get to that spinning back kick type of mindset, you know what I mean? As where
I
before
will.
I was just kind of clueless and misguided.
Yeah. I will say, man, like you have not taken the easy route at all. You are really learning at a fast pace. And I can
Thank you,
understand
thank you.
how it can be very emotionally overwhelming because I mean, look at the competition you're fighting. I've put you in there with straight,
Against killers.
killers. You've been in there with
Like every
straight
fight
killers,
has been killers.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you've come out on top of the majority of them. Um, but like I said, if you're not challenging yourself, if you don't lose at some point, you're not challenging yourself. But I mean, it's just
Yeah,
you've kind of been forced to grow at a pretty rapid pace, considering the competition you've been in there with.
yeah. I appreciate that though. I'm happy that it happened rather than the other way. Because of the place that I'm at now, like every year that goes by, I just keep learning more and more and more, even though it
Yeah,
might be from losses. It's still like big lessons in so many different ways. So
yeah.
I'm very grateful for that. Once again, grateful to you as well. It's
So March 2nd, the
mhm,
Sugar Bomb is back. You're taking on Braden Tamazaki. He's coming down from up in Northern Cal. He's also, seems to have a lot of that traditional style to him. It looks like it's going to be an interesting matchup with both of you kind of having that traditional martial arts
background.
style. You with the Shotokan karate. What do you know about him, and what do you think about this fight?
From what I've heard and from some of the clips I've seen, I hear he's a kung fu guy. He seems, when he actually fights, to have kind of just like a typical Muay Thai kind of style, but he has very nice kicks. Um, so I mean, there's not really much to think about. When I'm fighting in the ring, it's not really me versus the person across the ring. It's more of me versus myself. So I'm not really concerned about him necessarily or what he can do. I haven't really seen much that's too noticeable for me to go like, and I'm not trying to disrespect him in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
I'm not trying to come across like that. But I'm more concerned about just taking care of myself and how I'm gonna beat myself come March 2nd. That's the thing that I think I failed to do a lot in the past was beat myself, and I mean emotionally and mentally. And so for this camp is I'm more concerned just about doing that and staying focused on how I can be my best as opposed to what my opponent can do. I don't think of it as like, oh, he can do this, he can do that. It's more like, no, I can do this, I can do that. Now, what are you going to do? Now, what are
yeah,
you going to go show? What are you going to go do in that ring? Not necessarily like, oh, I need to watch about this because that's what I would always do in the past is overanalyze what they can do, and then that just leads to freezing. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And
No,
so
no, I
I
understand.
threw that out the window, and I'm not thinking like that no more. I'm just thinking about how I can go and what I can do, and I just see myself how I can be my best, and hopefully I can show the fans what I see in my head.
For sure, for sure. What are you working on? And obviously don't give away anything you don't want to, but is there something you could share with us, as to what you're working on to continue to grow as a
Mhm.
as a fighter, as a martial artist, as a person? Is there something you're concentrating on maybe for this camp?
I mean, I'm always focusing on everything as much as I can. I think one of the biggest things in terms of like just fighting techniques is just my defense, as well as my offense, and specifically my hands more. Uh, I know because of my karate background, I've always had a tendency to keep my chin up. So keeping my chin down is something I'm always working on. What I like to do is like I do some shadow boxing or I do some movement, and I'll have like a little like racquetball,
I
and I'll
see.
just
I
bounce around
see.
like that. I'll practice like doing some combos, and then I'm automatically doing some like head movement after, or some exit, or some angle switch, or some footwork switch. Uh, Continuous combos, how to free flow, constantly working on my timing and rhythm changing, especially on offense as well as defense, how to
Mhm.
interrupt. I mean, it's pretty much everything, you know.
Yeah.
I'm already kind of flexible. My legs are really strong. I already know how to do every kick and every type of punch. It's just conditioning it so that you can keep doing it and not having to stop. I don't like the idea of being a slow-paced fighter. Um, I know I want a belt in Muay Thai, which is deemed as a slower pace, and a lot of people think I should be a more slow paced type of fighter, but I kind of like the fast pace and constantly being in someone's face. As of lately, that's been a really something that I've been coming to appreciate. A big fighter that I've been really looking up to lately is Dimitri Bivol. I
Mm.
really like his style. I really
He's an
think
excellent fighter. He's an
Oh
excellent
my
fighter.
God, his footwork and his angles and timing is so magnificent. And the way he fights
Yeah.
behind his jab, that's something that I really like, and I've been really watching and studying, as well as Floyd Mayweather on his defense.
Oh
No,
man.
I'm not going to be doing the Philly show if that's what everyone's worried about. No, not going to turn
Yeah.
into a Philly show kind of guy. But you know, just taking a lot of the great things from a lot of the greats in each sport and trying to just
Yeah.
experiment with my own and add to what I think I can add.
We were actually, because obviously, I mean, we talk about a lot of boxing on this channel as well. We talk about
Mhm.
kickboxing and boxing. That's what we talk about. We promote you guys and we talk boxing. And we were actually talking about Bivol the past couple of episodes that we've been doing on the channel. And,
Mhm.
I said to Gary yesterday, and I had Coach Derek Collinsworth, a guy, by the way, I'd love for you to meet and maybe go train with at some point in
Oh,
Texas.
for sure.
He's actually got one of the best welterweights in the world in Quentin Randall, and they're actually going to be
Ah,
fighting
okay.
in California soon. But Coach Derek always, he told me, and it was very obvious but profound. He's like, how Tyson's peekaboo style like doesn't work for that many people, but it's
Hmm.
perfect for Tyson. You know what I
Right,
mean? He's got like the perfect body type and athleticism to pull that off. I feel
right,
like
right.
Bivol is that guy in that Russian style. He's
Hmm.
he's one of the few people that has the athleticism and everything else to be able to pull off that beautiful style you're
That
talking about.
style.
That's a difficult style to pull off, man. He's very bouncy and in and out,
Mhm.
and it takes a lot of, I think, athleticism and endurance to pull off that style.
Yeah, well, if you know me, I'm very athletic and I have a gas tank, so
For sure, for sure, for sure.
so we'll
For I
see.
just think I just don't think that's an easy style for people to emulate, but if you can get it right,
That's what makes it
obviously,
beautiful, though.
yeah, yeah,
If it's
yeah.
because if it was easy, then everybody would do it.
That's right. That's
You know what
right.
I
That's
mean?
right.
And I'm not trying to be like everybody else.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. So big card, I mean, obviously we have our first Florida card on February 17th. At least that's the aim. And
Yeah.
then the card you're on, Fighters Rep 22, March 2nd, Commerce Casino. Another big one, man.
Mhm.
You're on there versus Braden. We've got Rebecca Montez against Precious. We've got Death Dealer defending his title
Nice.
against Ralph Sanchez, a guy who beat him in a very close fight in the past.
Yep.
Um, we've got Gator Granado taking on Sergio Rodriguez, and that's got a little interesting wrinkle to it because Sergio, was able to decision his cousin Jerry in the past, and is a very capable challenger himself. Um, just a very stacked card that you're going to be
Yeah.
a part of. Something like 5 titles on the line. How's it feel? To be on another big card like that, and to be one of the marquee fights on that card.
I mean, yeah, I mean, 5 title fights, that's one hell of a card. I mean, if you're ever on something as big as that, it's always
Yeah.
always such an honor.
And by
Always
the
such an
way, Connie
honor.
Connie Gonzalez versus Nancy Tran, um, at the 125-pound division, title up for grabs on that. Hamza
Mm.
Trad is also defending his title
Hamza.
against Tyler
Oh,
Fox.
okay.
Yep,
Nice.
and then Milshawn is defending his title against Rudy Cuevas. So that I'm sure
Rudy
that's something you're going to
Cuevas.
be.
I
I'm
remember
sure
Rudy
that's something.
Cuevas.
Yeah, yeah.
He
So I'm
fought,
sure
I
that.
think on 19 or 18 or something like that.
Yep, yep. So I'm sure that's something you're going to be interested in looking at.
Yeah.
Considering that
Yeah,
that's your
it's
division
it's my
essentially, and then of
division.
course, we've got Isaac De La Paz coming back to take on
Yes.
Ruben Avila. And dude, James Sandoval's come back. That 135-pound
Oh my
division is
God.
crazy. Gator Granado, Rodriguez, Sandoval, De La Paz. I mean, and then
Yeah.
your division is crazy too. You and Rudy and Milshawn and the rest of them. Exciting stuff,
Yeah.
man. I mean, exciting stuff.
Man, yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Shout out Gator and shout out Hamza. Those are my two boys right there. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely gonna
yeah,
be rooting
yeah,
for them. Uh, I'm gonna give Milshawn a shout out just out of respect. I
yeah,
don't necessarily know Rudy like that. For me, I would want Milshawn more to win just because I want the rematch.
yeah,
I don't really know Rudy as well, but I have seen him fight. He's very, very good. But Milshawn, for anyone that doesn't know Milshawn's got a right hand cannon. It just happens to be like at the speed of light. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, let me ask you about that. Was there anything? I mean, I know, you didn't feel yourself mentally, you froze in the moment, kind of, but Milshawn, capitalized. He
not
did
kind
what he
of.
had
I
to do.
did freeze. You don't got to sugarcoat
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, but
it.
but we also got to give Milshawn credit. He capitalized. He did what he had to do. He put on the performance of a lifetime, I think, in his defense, or on his part. So, I mean, what was it? Did you see anything from Milshawn that maybe was unexpected, that you didn't realize he had prior to being in there with him?
No.
No.
He threw everything that I felt he was gonna throw. Watching his other two fights in Fighters Rep, he loves throwing the 1-2 a lot. I notice he always throws his kicks off the back leg. I don't even think he threw off the front leg. Maybe he did once.
Yeah.
No, I didn't really. Everything that I thought was gonna happen, like in terms of what he was gonna throw, like he pretty much threw. I think because I just wasn't in that mode that I needed to be, it kind of felt really fast for me.
Yeah.
Um, just because I wasn't in it mentally, but it
And he
wasn't
was
like
fast, and he was
he
fast and
was in it.
explosive on the night. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was in it. He was in that headspace that you need to be
Yeah.
at. He was in that spinning back kick mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he
For
was
him,
on.
for
Yeah,
him, I think it's the right hand mindset. For
yeah,
you, it's
the
the
right
spinning
hand
back
cannon
kick. For him,
mindset.
it's the right hand. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was in that zone. Full credit to him. No, but he threw everything that I knew it was gonna throw. Um, I didn't expect to get knocked down like that per se. Because it did like, I think they call it what, like a flash knockdown, like when
Yeah.
you like pop back up or whatever. But it knocked me down. I didn't think it was gonna knock me down like that. So
Yeah.
that was I think the only thing that I kind of didn't expect. But I did expect it for it to be fast, and I did expect it to be thrown.
And you've got
I
a
wasn't
great chin. I
surprised.
mean, we've seen your chin as well. You've got a hell of a chin. So
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I mean, in the
yeah.
fight, like I got knocked down twice.
Hmm.
Um, shout out to Mark Reyes for this because at an amateur level, like when you look at the video, at the reel or YouTube short, like I got back up to my feet and I was hoping that he would just let me keep going. Like I think it's 3 knockdowns and then it's
Yeah.
over, and it was only two.
Right.
But shout out to Mark because I wasn't in that right headspace, and I think overall it was better. and he was protecting me more than I understood in the moment, which is something I appreciate because I think eventually that third knockdown probably would have happened anyways,
Yeah.
because I just wasn't in it unless I was able to calm myself down like my other fight. But I think when you look at the grand scheme of things, I think it's better it didn't because, like I said, going back to that reality knocking on the door, I think it was meant for that to happen, and which is something that I'm grateful for, and you know, I'm grateful to Mark as well for that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, listen, I think you're a big ticket item. I think people are excited to watch you fight all the time, and I think they're going to be very excited to see your progression at Fighters Rep 22 on March 2nd against Braden Tamazaki. Get your tickets from the Sugar Bomb or get them at FightersRep.com. And if you want to support the Sugar Bomb at the checkout where it asks you who you came to see, put Sugar Bomb in that space and he'll get credit. And, I think people, listen, I think people are always excited to watch you fight, man. You're an exciting fight. Even,
thank
win,
you,
lose, or draw, you're always in a great fight. I will say that about you. It's always
thank
exciting,
you.
whether you're ending it quick or whether it ends quick or whether it's whatever it is, a decision. It's always a good fight. I think about your fight. Um, what was his name? I mean, with Richie, the fight with Richie was great.
Richie,
What was the name of the very durable kid? His mind is slipping me right now.
Juan Banda,
Banda, man,
Banda.
that was a really fun fight. I mean, you guys were hitting each other with heavy leather, and it was just nobody was budging. And man, that was a fun fight as well. And then obviously the spinning back kick, and a lot of
Yeah,
great fights, man. You've had a lot of great fights, and we look forward to a lot more. Claycomb
thank
Academy of
you.
Martial Arts, Fontana Karate Club says winners are not people who never fail or never fall, but people who never quit. Os, I couldn't agree more. And I would imagine that she had Joseph
That's my dad.
Claycomb
Yeah, hi,
right in
Bubba.
that in there.
He's
Much
in the
love.
other room.
Yeah, much love. Big shout out to him. Mikey, is there anything, before I let you go, anything you want to say, anyone you want to thank, just anything that's on your mind that you weren't able to kind of express during this interview?
Well, first of all, I always want to thank you because I wouldn't be anything without these opportunities that you keep, giving me and all
You
these
would be, but
interviews
I
and everything.
appreciate it. You would be, but I appreciate it. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Well, it happens to be you, so thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart,
My
honestly.
pleasure. Yeah.
Um, I want to shout out my dojo, my dad, my hero, my family, all my friends, everyone that comes out, the fans. Um, I think I pretty much touched on everything. Yeah, I think after this last fight, it really changed not just my outlook on my mindset, but kind of changed my personality a little bit. I look at things much differently now after this loss. Uh, I don't think I don't think the same way as I used to in terms of like trying to run away from problems or fear or any obstacles that I've ever had to or not overcome, but deal with. Um, I also understand myself in a lot more ways, and I'm really excited for everyone come March 2nd. A lot of things I'm working on mentally, also spiritually. A lot of things in karate that I've been doing over these past years relate to this, uh, like fighting in so many ways that I didn't even know. Like I wasn't aware of it until I started like thinking about uh, ways that I can be better, and things are starting to click a lot more. Um, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited. I don't think it's going to be anything that anyone's ever seen come March 2nd, and yeah, it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice. I think it's going to be a completely different sugar bomb than what anyone's seen before. So I think it's going to be really
And
fun.
Joseph Claycombs in the chat says, "Get those tickets, people, because that front row will be gone soon." And I'm not doubting it. I'm not
My
doubting
dad
it at
always
all.
buys it.
Yeah, yeah. So much love to him and everybody that comes out to support you, man. They really do come out in droves to support you.
Oh, I think the sugar, not the sugar, the spinning back kick fight. I think we had like the two sides of the front row. Like
Jeez, man.
we had
Jeez.
two sides of the front row, so get
Yeah.
them quick.
Well, anyway, Michael, man, I really appreciate your time. Obviously, we're really excited to have you back at the Lions Den.
Thank
Um,
you, thank you.
Good luck. I know you started training camp yesterday, so this is kind of the send off, I guess. This interview.
Yep.
Good luck headed into that zone, and we're gonna see you March 1st at weigh-in and March 2nd for the fight. And I look forward to it, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you to the fans. Love you guys. Everyone watching this, everyone that commented, everyone at home. So thank you guys. Couldn't be here without you guys. So
Tell them to
thank you.
subscribe and follow you, man.
You better, or else I'm gonna spinning back kick you in your sleep.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Sugarbomb Claycomb. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you, man.
All right.